MeMonster.
Chapter 26. How may I help you? The young employee, who appeared to be in his early 20s and was standing near the entrance, stiffened as soon as he saw Kim Sung-han. It's understandable. Sung-han's face isn't exactly the kind you'd want to run into in a dimly lit place. Do you know Kim Min-yu? Kim Sung-han asked in a low, almost interrogative voice. The kid looked like he was about to cry. He was absolutely terrified. Kim Min-yu? Min-yu Young. Yes, he contacted us. I wondered why Sung-an was asking, but it seemed that Min-yu had mentioned he'd smooth things over since this was one of his regular spots. The employee visibly relaxed and forced a smile. So you're a senior of Min-yu Young. Please come in. We've reserved a quiet spot for you. It felt like we were being ushered into a private room. Of course, there were no private rooms, just a table in a secluded corner. I was most pleased by the partitioned seating. I was really in the mood to hide away. I'll bring out the most popular items right away. For drinks, would you like imported beer? We also have whiskey. Our best is Ballantine 17 year, though we don't stock much because it's not in high demand. The employee quickly regained his energy and was now speaking in a lively tone. These days, kids sure are fearless. Kim Sung-han, seated across from me, glanced at me, signaling that I should order. I picked up the menu on the table, then set it back down carefully. There was a lot of stuff, snacks and drinks, but my go-to was just good old soju. Just bring a mix of beer and soju, enough to keep us going. Whatever works, just make it decent. Yes, Hanyam. The employee saluted sharply and quickly disappeared. The fast-paced music, the chatter, and the laughter were all loud. On the way in, I noticed a long bar and a small stage. Was this place half club or something? While I was briefly surveying the surroundings, the drinks and snacks arrived. That was quick. The table was laid out with assorted fried foods, fruit, budae-jjigae, and snacks. There was even chicken, salad. Why salad? If you need anything, just call. I'd be full just eating the appetizers. I took a sip of beer to wet my throat and grabbed some snacks. These fries are delicious. The seasoning is just right, and the cheese sauce, sweet with a hint of salt, perfectly complements the greasy flavor. A satisfying salty-sweet combo. I'd like to apologize once again for the misunderstanding. Kim Sung-han spoke in a serious tone, his expression equally serious, his demeanor sincere. All of this set to the lively backdrop of a popular upbeat song proclaiming, "I'm the prettiest." This is definitely not the right atmosphere. I want to get drunk quickly. When you first found Park Yerem, I thought it was just luck, but gaining her trust, dealing with potential threats early, and wrapping up the contract with team leader Suk so neatly, those aren't things that could be achieved by luck. No, luck played a big part. If you're lucky enough to regress, you could do it too, Sung-han. Oh, and you'd need a skill as well. Then again, I got my skills partly out of luck too. Luck is the best stat, honestly. And then when you went to save your friend, to be honest, I was moved. It's not like you've known him for a long time, and yet you risked your life for an old acquaintance you happened to run into. It made me think that you're someone who can be trusted to have my back. It was just an impulsive decision. It was like helping someone who collapsed on the street, just a reflex. Even if it was impulsive, there's a big difference between helping someone who collapsed on the street and pulling someone out of the path of an oncoming train. But it wasn't that dangerous since you were there. Please stop. I'm going to blush before I even get drunk.
Let's change the subject. What should we talk about? Something trending these days? Now that I think about it, I have no idea what's popular anymore. The new X-Men series should be out. Did How to Train Your Monster 4 come out this year? When did that variety show starring awakened celebrities start airing? By any chance, have you heard of Starting Today, I'm a Hunter? Pardon? No, never mind. I guess it hasn't started airing yet. STIH was a fun show. There were even high-rank hunters as guests. I applied for the lower-rank hunter special episode recruitment once. Didn't get in, though. Were you one of the early awakeners, Sunghan? Since I have no idea what's trending, I just steered the conversation towards something I know best, hunters. Looks like I'll need to spend more time watching TV and browsing the internet. Yes, not only me, but over half of the current awakeners had their first awakening during the initial dungeon shock. When dungeons first appeared in the world, people approached them with a mix of caution and curiosity, like primitive humans discovering fire. But soon after, oversaturated dungeons began to burst one after another. It was fortunate that the initial dungeons were only F to E rank. With limited mana, the monsters that poured out into the world were generally manageable with ordinary weapons. However, for unarmed civilians, even an F rank monster was a formidable opponent. The casualty rate should have been massive, but the actual damage was surprisingly minimal. This was due to the large number of people who awakened after being attacked by monsters. The initial skills of early awakeners varied depending on their awakening environment. Most early awakeners who faced life-threatening situations gained attack or defense skills as their initial abilities. While these were mostly F to E rank skills, they were much more effective against low-rank monsters than unskilled civilians wielding ordinary weapons. As soon as even a small number of mid to high-rank awakeners appeared, the situation quickly stabilized. That being said, Korea still suffered millions of injuries and tens of thousands of deaths. At the time, I was in the countryside, which made it even more dangerous. Most of the residents were elderly, so it was difficult for them to awaken, and even if they did, their stats were low. Kim Sung-han emptied his glass again as he spoke. As he said, in areas with severe aging populations, dungeon bursts could result in high casualties, sometimes leaving no survivors. Fortunately, I awakened as an A rank, so I was able to mitigate the damage. You must be a complete hero in that town. The village elders still contact me occasionally. They send me things from time to time, too. He smiled, looking a bit embarrassed. I happened to be visiting my grandfather's house for the weekend, which was a stroke of luck. If I hadn't been there, I probably wouldn't have seen my grandfather again. You must have been close with your grandfather. He raised me after all. Ah, so your parents? They're alive, but after the divorce, my mother remarried, and my father moved abroad, only sending child support. Since I became an adult, I've lost contact with my father entirely, so I assume he started a new family as well. I barely remember what they both look like. I see. It seems there are very few people with peaceful family lives. Although different from the situations of Kim Sung-han or Yoo-hin, it's true that many early awakeners had broken families. Awakening during that time meant being attacked by monsters, and since it was the weekend, many were with their families. Even if that weren't the case, the unprecedented situation with over 1 million injured left a lot of people scarred, and many still haven't healed. My grandfather, who was like a parent to me, passed away last year from an illness. The guild leader and team leader Sok were very supportive then. They even brought in a specialist healer from abroad for his care. I see. Healers can't cure diseases, but they're excellent for restoring energy and reducing pain. Unlike narcotic painkillers, skills don't have side effects. The only downside is the cost. As the conversation continued, empty bottles began piling up one by one. Yet, strangely, I wasn't getting drunk. It wasn't that I felt nothing. I had that slight, tantalizing hint of tipsiness, but it wasn't going any further. You seem to hold your liquor better than you look. Kim Sung-han commented, but that's not true. I don't have a high tolerance. My drinking capacity only increased because my stats improved after leveling up 5 years later. But right now, I'm at level 1, so I should be blushing after just 1 bottle of soju. Why am I still fine? It's going down well today, I answered, tilting my head. Why am I not getting drunk? Of course, I didn't plan to get completely wasted,
If I accidentally blurted out something about my skills while drunk, that would be bad. But I need a bit of a buzz to make saying the keyword easier. There's no way I can say it sober. You probably shouldn't get too drunk. I have a really embarrassing type of drunken behavior. Still, I laid the groundwork. Do you cry or something? Oh, that's not even embarrassing. I confess to anyone when I'm drunk. I didn't even have to pretend. The embarrassed expression naturally came out. I've even been slapped for confessing while drunk, you know. Of course, that never actually happened, though I have been slapped for confessing while completely sober. I still don't know why she hit me instead of just turning me down verbally. Did she hate me that much? That must have been difficult. One of my college friends would kiss anyone when he was drunk. During training, he left a trail of victims. Training? He doesn't mean military training, does he? Too embarrassed to ask, I just took a sip of soju and laughed it off. Maybe I should try going to college. I have plenty of time, so I could study for the entrance exam. Even though I'm not drunk, I'm having ridiculous thoughts. College? Yeah, right. But seriously, why am I not getting drunk? Normally, I'd have blacked out by now. Come to think of it, last night's beer didn't seem to affect me much either. I thought it was because I only drank half a can. What's the problem? I'm not wearing any items except for the earrings that boost mana, and as for skills, could it be because of a skill? Could it be the poison-resistant skill? That's the only skill that seems suspicious. Is it treating a certain level of alcohol as a poison and blocking it? Alcohol does have an addictive property and is harmful in excess, but it's not exactly a poison. If poison resistance is the culprit, does that mean I can't get drunk anymore? Am I saying goodbye forever to that nice, pleasant buzz? Damn it. You don't look well. Have you had too much to drink? No, I just remembered something that's a bit concerning. My booze, my chicken and beer. I was looking forward to watching the Awakener League that's coming up, but now I have to watch that circus sober? Damn it. Why does it have to be a passive skill? Can't I turn it off? I've never heard of anyone turning off a passive skill. Since they don't consume mana, it's usually not something you'd consider turning off. It probably can't be turned off. There's a reason it's called passive. Still, it'd be nice if I could toggle it, maybe just this once. I really don't want to pretend to be drunk and then have to say the keyword sober. Poison resistance skill. Deactivate. Turn off poison resistance. Of course, it's not working. Poison resistance L skill is deactivated. Clang. Hun Yu Jin, are you all right? No, I'm not all right. Damn it. What a stupid mistake. I can't believe it actually turned off. It was like a floodgate burst, and the alcohol hit me all at once. Shit. It feels like I swallowed a fireball. I need to reactivate the skill. What was the skill called again? What was it called? Chapter 27. Han Yu-jin? Kim Sung-han looked across the table at the man with a worried expression. The glass in Han Yu-jin's hand slipped, rolled across the table, and stopped when it bumped into a plate. The spilled drink dripped onto the floor below. Are you all right? Yu-jin shook his head slightly in response to the question, then let out a deep sigh. Han Yu-jin. As he exhaled heavily, Yu-jin raised his head. His eyes were half-lidded, and his flushed skin clearly showed that he was thoroughly intoxicated. I think I've had too much. Let's call it a night. No, wait a moment. Yu-jin shook his hand in refusal. Despite being drunk, his pronunciation was clear and his voice was steady, which momentarily confused Kim Sung-han. Was he really drunk? There's still something I need to do. Something you need to do? Yes. I really don't want to do it, but I have no choice. Why is this happening? This ridiculous... Yu-jin mumbled to himself, rubbing his face with both hands. He looked so reluctant
that it made Kim Sang-han curious about what he was planning to do. If you tell me what it is, I might be able to help. Help? No. Just stay seated. Don't laugh. Don't treat me like I'm crazy. Just sit there, as usual, looking all serious? Yeah. Yujin sighed deeply again, as if the ground would collapse under his feet. He looked like he might burst into tears as he took a piece of ice from the pitcher and rubbed it against his flushed cheek. It seemed like his attempt to sober up. This isn't really how I feel, Han Yujin. Yes? But if you don't mind, could you please listen to me seriously? I really don't want to say this, but I feel like I have to take this opportunity. Go ahead. Kim Sang-han straightened up unconsciously. Yujin was clearly drunk, but he was speaking too coherently for it to be just drunken rambling. Maybe he was about to reveal something important. In the few days he'd known him, Kim Sang-han had seen that Yujin was a man with many secrets. If it weren't for the fact that he was the confirmed older brother of the Heian Guild leader, Kim Sang-han might have suspected he was hiding his true identity. He knew too much and was too skilled for someone who had just registered as an awakener. So in this moment, with Yujin seemingly letting down his guard, Kim Sang-han couldn't help but listen intently to what he had to say. Kim Sang-han. Yes? Yujin's lips trembled slightly. After hesitating, he finally blurted out his thoughts. I love you. What? For the first time in his 30-plus years, Kim Sang-han wore the dumbest expression on his face. The words that had just struck his eardrums didn't immediately connect to his brain, as if they were just circling around aimlessly. A burst of emotions followed, like fireworks in every color. He felt confused, incredulous, and even amused. The anticipation he had built up crumbled into disappointment. But at the same time, he felt a strange sense of camaraderie, realizing that Yujin too was helpless when drunk. Overall, it wasn't bad. In fact, it was quite amusing. So your drunken confession is actually a real thing, Kim Sang-han said, suppressing the laughter that threatened to spill out. If that's all you needed to do, we can head back now. Something I needed to do. Oh, right. Yujin rubbed his face again. Did I by chance say that I love you? The seriousness in his tone finally made Kim Sang-han burst out laughing. He cleared his throat and nodded. You did. Really? Oh, damn it. No, I didn't mean it towards you, but did I really say I love you? Yes. Really? Then why? Oh, it was triggered. When did that happen? Yujin muttered something incomprehensible before laughing in a self-deprecating manner. Kim Sang-han watched him, feeling a strange sense of déjà vu. This was the first time he'd ever had a drink with Yujin. It was definitely the first time, yet oddly it didn't feel unfamiliar. It was as if he had seen Yujin in this state before. No, he had definitely seen it. Kim Sang-han dug through his memories. It wasn't a memory from too long ago. He had seen it 2 years ago, and even before that, when he was a child. Trent. It struck him suddenly, and he took a small breath. My grandfather. A frail old man who, after having a few drinks, would laugh heartily while telling the grandchild his cold-hearted son had abandoned that he loved him. He vividly remembered the wrinkled, hardened hands that would pat his head and his back. This man is almost 10 years younger than me. Am I drunk? To be reminded of a 70-year-old man when looking at a fresh-faced youth was absurd. But that strange sense of incongruity was quickly erased by a strong, overwhelming emotion. The only thing that remained was the deep affection he had for the man who had been his excellent guardian. Of course, Han Yujin wasn't going to become Kim Sang-han's actual grandfather. He was a different person. He knew that clearly. But that didn't really matter. What was important was that he now had someone he could trust and rely on, someone he could think of fondly and lean on occasionally. In a world where it's hard to trust even your family, having someone you felt was completely safe was an incredibly tempting thing, and there was no reason to resist that temptation. Han Yujin smiled. "You've had too much to drink," he said as he stood up. Yujin looked up at him blankly as he approached. "I'm sorry, but I have to say it. I really do." "You already did." "Oh, I did? I said it? Damn it, that's not what I meant." Kim Sung-han grabbed Yujin's arm, helping him to his feet as he continued to babble nonsensically. Surprisingly, Yujin walked straight, without any sign of stumbling. If it weren't for the drunken love talk and glazed eyes, you wouldn't even know he was drunk. "I'm sorry, I really didn't want to do this." "It's fine." "You say it's fine, so I'll just say one more thing." "Just one more thing?" he said as he looked up at the man supporting him with a serious expression.
I love you. Kim Sung-han was about to laugh it off again, but then he remembered something. Unlike when he was a child, when he grew older, he became more concerned with appearances and started ignoring his grandfather's drunken confessions, never responding to them. Me too. And so for the first time since his teenage years, he uttered those words. I loved you, grandfather. It feels like my head is split open, and it's like some crazy bastard is sticking their hand in the cracks and slapping my brain around. My head hurts so much that I'm having these ridiculous thoughts. My brain, damn it. What the hell happened before I, damn it. Ugh, you idiot. Ugh, my head. I tried to get up, but immediately fell back, burying my face in the pillow. I feel like I'm going to die. So, I turned off the skill, didn't I? Damn it. Why did the passive skill turn off? I mean, it's not like the system officially announced this is a passive skill, but still, people just decided it was passive. But it actually turned off. I need to turn it back on. Poison resistance skill activate. Nothing's happening. Why isn't it working? Poison resistance skill on. Can't you hear me, system? Still no message popped up. What the hell? It's not permanently deactivated, right? That would be the dumbest thing I've ever done. Poison resistance skill activate. Come on, turn on! Poison Resistance L skill has been activated. As the message appeared, the headache vanished like magic. The heavy, leaden feeling in my body also lifted. Wow, the skill works wonders. It even cures hangovers. Definitely worthy of being a legendary skill. But does this mean you have to say it twice to turn passive skills on and off? Is it some kind of safety measure? I tried testing it by turning off the fear resistance skill instead of poison resistance. Fear resistance skill deactivate. Fear resistance skill deactivate. Fear resistance L skill has been deactivated. Oh, it actually turns off. Why doesn't the system tell you these things? Whoever designed this thing was seriously unfriendly. Can we at least get a user manual now? But last night, I hope I didn't say anything too crazy when I was completely drunk. Now that my mind had cleared, a wave of anxiety hit me. First, I was in my room at the guild dormitory, and as for my clothes, I was in pajamas. Who changed me? Did I throw up? I picked up my phone from the bedside table. A day had passed, and it was a little after 10 a.m. I hope I just passed out quietly. I prayed as I opened the status window to check my kid is the best skill. My kid is the best, L, growth speed of affected targets plus 100%, duration, 3 days, can be used without a keyword on previously affected targets, cannot be used repeatedly on the same target, cooldown, 30 days. Keyword, love you. Oh, note, cannot be applied if the target is aware of the keyword's effect. Affected targets, 4, Han Yushun S, Yu Myung Woo F, Park Yerim S, Kim Sang-han A. Damn it. Kim Sang-han's on the list. Why is he on the list? Is this a system error? Please let it be an error.
At least it seems I didn't spill the beans about the skill. If I had, the skill wouldn't have applied by Kim Sang-hun. There's no retroactive effect or anything, right? Please tell me I didn't say anything crazy. I sat up and turned my phone back on. I need to check, but I really don't want to call him. I did say that confessing was my drunken habit, but I didn't actually expect to get drunk and say love you for real. Hopefully, I just said it once and left it at that. I didn't say anything unnecessary, right? After swallowing a few times, I nervously pressed the call button. It's fine. Everything will be fine. It's...
Hello, this is Kim Sang-hun.
Hello, Sang-hun. My voice trembled without me realizing it. I wouldn't be this nervous if I was calling my first love after 10 years. Did I, by chance, get home quietly last night? Please say yes. I'm begging you. I heard a small laugh from the other end. Damn it, this is not a good sign.
You were surprisingly composed for someone who was drunk.
Really? Oh, thank God.
Except for the 30 times you told me you loved me.
30 ways to commit suicide flashed through my mind. Damn it. What the hell did I do? Can't I go back in time just one more time? Please, God, if I could just shotgun the drunken idiot to death, I'd ask for nothing more. I apologize deeply, really, really very deeply. I squeezed the words out. I'm insane. Completely insane. Han Yu-jin, you crazy bastard. You only had to say it once, but you said it 30... Damn it. My neck felt hot. I'm dying of embarrassment. I already feel half dead. I'm really sorry. I truly was not in my right mind. You must have been very uncomfortable, and I sincerely apologize.
It's fine. I wasn't uncomfortable at all.
What? My brain froze for a moment. Wait, you weren't uncomfortable? What do you mean? If it were me, I'd have thought this crazy bastard should just get drunk and pass out quietly, and kicked him. But you weren't uncomfortable at all? Don't tell me that's your type. A chill ran down my spine. Just get mad, please. Why are you saying it's fine? I want to hear you call me a crazy bastard. Well, but still, the place and everything, you couldn't have felt good about it. Kim Sang-hun laughed. Don't laugh, it's creeping me out. If it were anyone else, it might have been annoying and uncomfortable. But what? I fought the urge to throw my phone and waited for him to continue. I realize this might sound strange. Should I just throw the phone? What strange thing are you about to say? For some reason, when I look at you, Han Yu-jin, I'm reminded of my late grandfather. What? Grandfather? Grandpa?
Chapter 28. I'm in my 20s, not my 30s, I muttered in disbelief. Grandfather? I never thought I'd be called that by someone older than me. My hair is still black, my skin is firm, without a single wrinkle. What part of me makes you think of your grandfather? Yes, I know that. But last night, when you were drunk, you reminded me of my grandfather. He also used to say, I love you, often when he was drinking. So that's why. But it's still weird. I mean, if a girl you're interested in gets drunk and says, I love you, do you think of your grandfather then too? Or your grandmother? Still, I'm not going to get drunk anymore, so you won't have any reason to think of your grandfather, right? Especially since I have no intention of ever saying I love you again. I feel like I've maxed out my lifetime quota, damn it. I suppose you're right. There was an uncharacteristic note of reluctance in Kim Sang-hun's voice. But even so, Yujin, I still remind you of my grandfather. No, even if you say that. Is that a problem? What? I won't say anything strange in front of others. I just mean that maybe we could keep in touch and see each other occasionally. We're in the same guild anyway, so it wouldn't be much of a bother.
Is he asking me to play the role of his grandfather? I really don't understand. Was there something wrong with the alcohol we drank last night? What kind of thought process leads someone to be reminded of their grandfather by hearing someone drunk say, "I love you"? Oh, wait a minute. If it's a grandfather who raised him, that's a caregiver. I said the keyword "love you" to Kim Song-han while drunk. Kim Song-han heard the keyword and was reminded of his grandfather. Not a parent, friend, or lover, but the person who raised him. That's how he saw that caregiver in me. The puzzle pieces were starting to fall into place. I thought about Yerim's oddly affectionate behavior toward me, how Mu Young-woo kept clinging to me, and my younger brother's overly protective attitude since the moment the skill was applied. Wait a minute. Damn, what kind of madman designed this system? If this were a game, I'd leave a 1-star review on every platform and write a 20-page rant about how terrible it is. I can't even tell if this is a skill effect or a title effect. Since it's triggered by a keyword, it seems like a skill, but the effect matches perfectly with the perfect nurturer title. Whatever, I don't care anymore. I sighed a few times to calm myself. So, if the keyword is applied, the person sees me as their caregiver, right? Kim Song-han just said that I reminded him of his grandfather who raised him. In Yoo-hyun's case, I was already his caregiver, so his feelings toward me have intensified. If his worry and anxiety doubled, it makes sense that he'd try to lock me up. No, doubling seems too much. He even let me go. Since it's the same person, maybe it's only about 1.5 times stronger. I thought he was acting strange, so it was because of my skill or title. Sorry for misunderstanding you, Yoo-hyun. As for Mu Young-woo, maybe he sees me as an older brother. He definitely didn't act like I was a parent. Finally, there's Park Yerim. Dad? Dad seems the most likely. I want to believe that. But usually, especially with girls, no, some daughters are really close to their dads. Maybe Yerim's dad was particularly involved in raising her. Maybe her mom was the breadwinner and she grew up with her dad. That must be it. It has to be. It didn't feel like she was treating me like a mom, did it? Yeah, if she thought I was her mom, she'd done more than just say Mu Young-woo was creepy when he got close. She'd have called the police. It's because she thinks I'm a dad that she just found it gross. Definitely. I let out a deep sigh and opened the "My kid is the best" skill window, examining it closely. Not applied if the target is aware of the keyword effect. This line stood out. Before, I didn't think much of it, but now that I know about this hidden effect, it feels completely different. Does aware of the keyword effect mean the person realizes why they see me as their caregiver? If someone who sees me as a parent figures out that their feelings are due to the skill, they'd naturally feel betrayed. Losing their trust would mean I'd no longer be their perfect nurturer, right? I know Yoo-hyun would be fine if he found out, and Mu Young-woo would probably let it slide, considering everything I've done for him. But Park Yerim and Kim Sung-han could be a problem. Of course, if I don't get caught, everything will be fine. It's an L-rank title and an L-rank skill. It would probably take a SSS rank willpower stat to even notice something is wrong. So, as long as I keep my mouth shut, there's no chance the affected targets will realize the keyword effect. And of course, I'll never get drunk again. Maybe I should gag myself before bed to prevent sleep talking. I should just use it on monsters or something. It should be safe if they can't talk.
I'm too scared to say I love you now. I won't be able to confess ever again. Wait, what? Hold on. What if I actually fall in love with someone? The moment I confess, do I go from boyfriend to dad? I could even become the mom. Imagine seriously saying, "I love you," only to have the other person blush and say, "I love you too, Mom." This is insane. 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 Damn it. This is crazy. It's okay. I just won't say I love you. Not for the rest of my life. Not even by accident. Not even in my sleep. Not even offhandedly. A single slip of the tongue and the wife you've been living happily with could suddenly say, "I'm sorry, but Mom is still Mom," and leave to find a new man. And then she might come back to introduce him to me, her ex-husband, as her new fiancé. Maybe she'd ask me to sit in the parents' seats at the wedding, light the candles, and my wife's new husband would be bowing to me like I'm her father-in-law? What? What kind of soap opera nightmare is this? I was sweating so much, it felt like even my eyes were sweating. If I ever meet someone I really want to spend the rest of my life with, I'll just cut off my tongue. Cut it off clean, damn it. I'll just say it was an accident in a dungeon. But what if Yu-hyun sends a healer to regenerate it? A-rank healers can regrow tongues. Would I have to become a crazy person who refuses treatment? Forget it. I don't care anymore. I'm not going to have any romance in the next 5 years anyway. I won't think about it. Lower rank skills don't have nearly this many complications. Then again, even at A rank, there were a few undocumented effects, so it's no surprise that L rank has more. But it feels like I'm navigating a minefield. I'm almost scared to use skills now. Shouldn't they at least warn you about such important effects? Just one more line in the description, like, the target will see the caster as their caregiver. Perfect nurturer, my kid is the best, growth buff, I love you, influence. There were hints, but how was I supposed to piece that together? I'm not Sherlock Holmes. By observing your blue tie, I deduce you had bean soup for breakfast, recently broke up with your significant other, started quitting smoking, and are left-handed. Wow! I should just raise monsters. That would be safe and peaceful. With my thoughts somewhat sorted, I got out of bed. Wait, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, right. I sent a text to Kim Song-han asking him to stop by before he entered the dungeon. Since the skill was applied, I might as well help him grow. And that's it, right? The hangover was gone, but my head still felt heavy. Since I had to attend rookie hunter training, I needed to wash up and get going. What time was it? It was 10 a.m. Crap! I'm late! They changed it to 2 p.m. As I rushed out the door, Yoon Young-woo poked his head out of the kitchen and called out. But more importantly, that cat has been really anxious since last night. Cat? Peace? You were out of it when you got home, so I carried you in. I think it scared him. Oh no, since he can't understand, I couldn't even explain that I was just a little out of it from drinking. I hurried to the living room. There, instead of resting comfortably, Peace was huddled up against the glass door. Peace! Wing wing! Ik ik! The moment he saw me, Peace started pawing at the glass and whimpering desperately. Yeah, my poor baby. You were so worried. I quickly opened the door and scooped up Peace, who immediately clung to me. You were so scared, huh? It's okay. I'm sorry. That won't happen again. Yeah, my little Peace. If I ever get that drunk again, I'll be a dog. A dog. Here. Yoon Young-woo approached, holding a tray with 4 cups on it. But why are there 4 cups, and why are they all different colors? What's that? Hangover drinks. The first one's from your brother, the second from Kim Song-han, the third from Park Yerim, and the last I bought. I appreciate the thought, but I don't need them. As you can see, I'm fine, so I don't need to drink them. They said they'd check if you drank them. Who? All 3 of them. Wait, they're actually going to check? Well, it's my fault for using the skill without knowing what I was doing. It's not a big deal, I just have to drink them, right? I was about to reach for one, but stopped. You won't tell them which one I drank first, right? If they ask, I'll have to answer. Yoon Young-woo replied hesitantly. Well, it's not like he could refuse. Let's see. Kim Song-han should be fine, but Yu-hyun and Perium are the real problem. We've already had a confrontation. I doubt they'd fight over this, but better safe than sorry. After a brief moment of thought, I picked up the drink Yu-hyun had sent. When in doubt, side with the strongest. By the way, do you have any older brothers you're close to? I asked as I finished the last drink. Since I'm still only half sure about the skills effects, I need to confirm it. Brothers? No, just older sisters, a lot older. Could it be? The way you've been sticking to me, it might be. Being seen as a sister is better than a mom, but still, I don't like it. Were you close with your sisters? Not at all. Phew. Thank goodness. What about your parents? Myungwoo smiled bitterly and shook his head. If we'd gotten along, I wouldn't have signed that slave contract. I got a decent allowance as a kid, back when we were doing well financially, but both my parents worked, so I hardly ever saw them. My sisters ignored me at first, then treated me like a servant. They've been married off for a while now, so we don't even keep in touch. If it's not family, then who am I to you? A relative? A teacher? Some neighborhood adult? Do you ever think of anyone in particular when you look at me? I just came right out and asked. Myungwoo looked puzzled. No? No? What the hell? Did I misinterpret the whole thing?
Is there anyone you've relied on a lot in your life? Someone who's helped you more than anyone else? You'd think there'd be at least one person like that. Of course. Myungwoo spoke with a bit of embarrassment. It's you, Eugene.
Me?
Yeah, obviously it's you. Who else would it be? Even if we put what happened at the association aside, you came to save me in a place full of gangsters. Even if you were my blood relative, they'd hesitate. My family would have definitely turned a blind eye. He had a point. But I didn't start helping him until after the keyword was applied. Before that, all I did was talk to him a few times. That shouldn't have been enough to be seen as a caregiver. Maybe if someone doesn't have a suitable caregiver, the effect doesn't apply. Maybe if someone doesn't have anyone who could be considered a caregiver either. Of course, I had people who looked after me, but there wasn't anyone I could fondly remember full of gratitude, like Yoo-hyun or Kim Sung-han had. Even with a powerful L-rank skill or title, it can't create something out of nothing. So Myungwoo genuinely likes me and clings to me because of that? Why are you backing away? Are you still hungover? Yeah, a little. For the sake of my privacy and mental health, I'd like to keep a reasonable distance. So that leaves Yerim as the last one. Yoo-hyun's feelings have only intensified, but he still sees me as his older brother, so that's impossible to confirm. Yerim is the only one left. Okay, Dad, please let it be Dad. I believe in you, Yerim. I believe in your dad, who I'm sure was very family-oriented. Chapter 29. After washing up, changing clothes, and having a meal that served as both breakfast and lunch, my head finally started to clear, though I still felt my heart pounding a bit more than usual. I thought the hangover was completely gone, but maybe not. It felt like my willpower stat had taken a hit or something. Considering the unexpected skill effect I discovered last night, I suppose it's understandable. But still, something feels off. Let's start by organizing my thoughts. There aren't many people in this world you can trust with your life. Maybe if you could read minds, but you can't possibly know what's going on in someone else's head. Unless someone has a history of risking their life to save you, like Yoo-hyun, you can never trust them completely. My stats are F rank. Always keep that in mind and be cautious. Having an L rank skill doesn't mean anything when an S rank can flick you aside like a bug. Right now, there are only 4 people, but if I keep using the same keyword, someone might catch on. Above all, using it in crowded places like last night is a definite no-no. If getting caught only meant losing the growth skill, I could deal with it. But if the mental conditioning effect is exposed, there will be chaos. So, if I have to use the keyword, it should be in a one-on-one situation with other words mixed in to keep it as safe as possible. Even 5 years later, no one had found a monster that could communicate with humans. So Peace, and any future monsters I acquire, will be safe to use the skill on without worrying about the effects wearing off. If I keep just 2 or 3 S-rank monsters by my side, I can rest assured about my safety. If I had S-rank stats, I wouldn't have to worry this much. This is way too much. My mental state is slipping again. What's wrong with me today?
It feels like I've taken off the armor I usually wear. Maybe I've pushed my liver too hard. Let's just head to the training. I'll feel better after resting for a day or two. Overdrinking is never good for the body. Mister! When I stepped outside, Yerim, who had been waiting, greeted me cheerfully. She was dressed in something fresh and cute today, as if she had a professional stylist. I heard you were really drunk. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Good. Don't drink too much. It's bad for your health. I'm already feeling the effects on my body. Look at this. My heart's racing again. While Yoon-Myung-woo still hadn't come out, I had to ask her quickly. Yerim, by the way? I hesitated, but since no one else was around, I asked her directly. When you look at me, does anyone come to mind? Does anyone come to mind? Yerim looked flustered, her eyes darting around. Bingo, so there is someone. Well, I was trying not to show it, but it's okay. Go ahead and tell me. As long as it's not your mom. When I was little, back when we lived in a house, there was a mister next door who took care of me. Mister! Hallelujah! Thank you, unknown mister from Yerim's neighborhood. He was younger than you, but I was even younger back then. Mom said he was just a student next door, but to me, he seemed like a grown-up, so I just called him mister. He didn't really look like you, but he was frail. Even as a child, I was worried about him. Though Yerim was looking at me, it seemed that her mind was far away, lost in a distant memory. She continued, reminiscing about the past. My family was well off, but the house next door was even bigger and nicer. They had a pretty garden, too. There was a white swing chair, and they had a big dog. The mister was so frail that he rarely went outside, but he played with me every day. You must have liked him a lot. Yes, I really liked him. I spent more time with him than with Mom or Dad back then. Dad was always busy, and Mom would go to church volunteer work with the lady next door since I was playing well with him. So that mister, the student, ended up being the most influential caregiver for her. Maybe if Yerim's parents had lived longer, things would have been different, but they passed away early. And I thought that when I grew up, I'd become stronger than him so I could protect him. Her voice trailed off. I could guess what happened next without her saying it. Yerim swallowed something, maybe a tear or a sigh, and looked at me anxiously. Do you find it unpleasant that I'm reminded of someone else when I look at you? People usually don't like that. No, it's fine. It's not like he was a criminal. He was a good person, right? I'm actually happy that you think of me that way. Of course, some people might be annoyed, but this is my fault. Even if he was frail, he was a kind-hearted, wealthy young man, so I'm grateful. Yerim looked relieved and smiled brightly at my words. Really? You're really a good person too, mister. I thought so from the moment I first saw you. And this is the same girl who shouted she wasn't into older men. Do you remember when you first thought of that mister when you looked at me? Yes, at the barbecue place right after you started talking nonsense. I think it was that weak-looking expression that reminded me of him. If it was after I started talking nonsense, that would be right after I said the T word, love you. So the effect from the keyword really does work. I'll definitely protect you, mister. Yeah, thanks. Yerim clung to me as usual, but unlike before, I felt a chill in my chest. Knowing that this was all because of the skill made it somewhat frightening. As long as I'm careful, there won't be any problems, but why do I feel so anxious? Is it really because of my liver? Did it get that bad overnight? Or is there some other reason? Clang! Did I keep you waiting? Yoon-Myung-woo came out the door. No, not really. Let's go. We're going to be late. Today's a theory class, so I'll just listen and go home early to rest.
The Rookie Hunter Theory classroom was smaller than I expected. Unlike the association's facilities that could accommodate around 100 people, there were only 5 desks here. Well, considering Haeyun's strict screening process, having more than 5 new recruits at once would be surprising. Even now, the only real rookie was Yerim. The chairs are nice. They must be expensive. Once we all took our seats, the instructor for the theory class soon appeared. The person who entered the room was a woman in her early 20s, wearing light sandals and a tropical-style long dress. She looked ready for a beach vacation rather than teaching a class. Is she really the instructor? Her round glasses and familiar face made me think I'd seen her somewhere before. Hello. The woman at the podium set down the materials she was carrying and spoke. My name is Sek Hayan. I'll be your theory instructor today. Sek Hayan. The name triggered my memory. Dr. White, the authority on dungeon studies. She originally studied statistics and was researching dungeons and awakened beings in Korea before moving to the US, where she played a significant role in uncovering the rules of dungeon creation. She was a young genius. She looked so much younger than on TV that I didn't recognize her at first. I remember her being older than me, but with different makeup and clothes, she looks like a total babyface. What is someone of her caliber doing here? She's still in Korea at this point, but shouldn't she be doing something more important than teaching rookie hunters? First, I'll teach you the basic knowledge of dungeons. Sek Hayan handed out printouts to each desk. Then she stopped right in front of mine. Through her round glasses, her equally round eyes looked down at me directly. What's this about? Do you have something to say? You're Han Yujin, right? She said as if she'd been waiting to speak to me. Yes, that's correct. Your uncle, the Haeyeon HR team leader, has told me a lot about you. HR team leader? Uncle? Now that I think about it, they do have the same last name. But wait, what exactly did he hear about me? Didn't Sek Kim Young promise to keep my information as secure as the guild masters? Did he really spill the beans so quickly, even though nothing's been verified yet? That doesn't seem like him. I'm not sure what you heard, but I think the team leader might be overestimating me. You're being modest. My uncle isn't the type to overestimate. He's very meticulous. He's definitely meticulous, but when it comes to me, it really is just an exaggerated misunderstanding. I'm not being modest, but could you tell me exactly what he said? He said you're incredibly knowledgeable about dungeons and awakened beings, so much so that it's surprising. He didn't mention the part about predicting dungeon types. At least he didn't completely misjudge me. I regained my composure and smiled. That's a bit too much praise. If you came here just based on his words, I'm afraid I might disappoint you. I'm here at Haeyeon to meet a goblin. Of course, I took the teaching job because of you, though. A real goblin, or do you mean a hunter? Yes, a hunter known for their special skills. I know all about the goblin. Or rather, I can't really say I know them. True to their moniker, the goblin wore a traditional mask and dressed like a character from a traditional Korean play. Even 5 years later, their name, age, and gender were still unknown. They weren't even registered with the association, but they were famous because of their special skills: medium-range teleportation and invisibility. Unlike teleportation, which is blocked by obstacles, the goblins' teleportation allows them to go anywhere. Add invisibility to that, and they were truly a mysterious figure, just like a goblin. They were also good at maneuvering through situations. Being able to sneak into any place is an extremely threatening ability. If the goblin wasn't careful, they could become a target for everyone. But the goblin boldly revealed their abilities to the world. My bundle is full of secrets, but as long as I'm safe, they will never be revealed. They declared this to the world. Originally, the goblin was nearly impossible hunter to catch due to their skills, so instead of being attacked, they had to be protected. After all, there isn't anyone or any group without secrets. Thanks to this, the goblin could move freely without belonging to any organization. They rarely participated in dungeon raids and instead acted as a courier, delivering important items or messages. Because they could uncover any secret, they were paradoxically the most trustworthy person to entrust secrets with. And a few years later, it was revealed that they could even create long-range teleportation portals. People were joking that the goblin should be called the Goblin King or a deity instead. Their abilities were so useful that they were flooded with offers, but the goblin only used their powers for rescue missions. The goblin became so famous and respected for saving countless lives during dungeon breaks and various natural disasters. Their personality was a bit quirky, but they were kind and an incredible person. I didn't know they were at Heian. I'd like to meet them too. You can, as long as you spend some time chatting with me until my appointment. Aren't you supposed to be teaching, instructor? You sound just like my professor. Sek Hayan rolled her eyes slightly and stepped up to the podium. Her lecture was excellent. She had a deep understanding of both dungeons and awakened beings, and she explained everything clearly and engagingly. Her use of visual aids was top-notch. Even though I already knew everything she covered, I found myself drawn in. But there were a few inaccuracies. No matter how hard she studied, she only had 3 years of data to work with compared to my 8.
That concludes the Rookie Hunter Theory class. Thank you, Professor, for tolerating my shortcomings. Why the professor again? I didn't even set foot in a university. Not at all. The lecture was very well done. You're quite skilled at teaching. It was clear and easy to understand. Since she called me professor, I figured I might as well give her some feedback. Sale Khayan rolled her eyes again. Thanks, but I saw the times you made that's not right face. You looked just like my professor. I felt like a student again. Did I really? The first time was when I was explaining awakening. I said it usually happens when someone feels threatened, and the initial skill acts as a defense mechanism. She's sharp and has a good memory, but then again, she's a genius. I gave a sheepish smile. It's not entirely wrong. For the most part, it's accurate. But I think the initial skill is usually... Seo Khayan's eyes widened. She looked eager to hear more. Is it okay to spill this? It's not exactly top-secret information, but it's usually influenced by talent and environment. There are many initial skills that can't be used in battle right away. But aren't most of them related to combat or support? Most, but not all, and it makes sense given the environment during awakening. But if you check, you'll find that the number of awakened people with non-combat skills has been increasing recently. Of course, since a life-threatening situation is the easiest way to awaken, combat skills will still make up the majority. But now that dungeon breaks are almost non-existent, the rate of awakening in everyday situations has naturally increased. The association recently reported someone with a fishing skill and another with an earthworm summoning skill. Sale Khayan fell silent for a moment, frowning slightly before nodding. All right, I'll check it out. And the second time you smirked was... Wait a minute, are you planning to go through everything? I don't have the time, but I can make it. You've got plenty of time, don't you? My time isn't for you to use. Seo Khayan gave me a what now kind of look. Is there something you want? Should I offer you research funding? I'd rather just relax. I'll book you a room at a 5-star hotel, a suite with a great view. Why is a hotel even being mentioned? My room has a nice view and is comfortable enough. What should I do? Getting to know her wouldn't be a bad idea. She'll eventually move to the US. But wait, could I give her a hint to crack the dungeon creation rules in Korea? There aren't enough dungeons. The number of dungeons is proportional to the population and land area. That's why Seo Khayan had to go overseas to continue her research on dungeon creation rules. Few countries allowed foreigners to study their dungeons. The royalties were insane, though. It's a shame. Is there no way to keep her researching here? I do want to meet the goblin, so I'll spend some time with you, but I can't promise to answer everything. Really? Thanks. Seokayan beamed and even clapped her hands. She's really that happy?
Chapter 30. Urim left for another engagement and Yoon-Myung-woo was sent ahead. Now that it was just me and Seok-Hayan, I felt my heart flutter slightly. It had been so long since I'd been alone with a woman who seemed to have some interest in me. Maybe, was this the first time? Though, to be fair, Seok-Hayan's interest was entirely academic. Her eyes lit up as she drew the entrance to a dungeon on a piece of paper. Not much of an artist, though. Being able to estimate a dungeon's saturation level by calculating the shape of the entrance and the distribution of mana? Amazing. Right now, we just calculate an average, so there are times when we have to start an emergency raid. Aside from the indicators like green for dungeons that are less than 3 days old and red for those on the brink of a break, there's really nothing else. It's still just a theory. There's too little data to make any guarantees, especially since there aren't that many dungeons in Korea. At my words, Seok-Hayan sighed with regret. That's true. There are too few. I'd get stoned if I said that outside, but it really is a shame we can't study more dungeons. If we could analyze a large number of dungeons, we might discover something new. Exactly. I just don't get why most countries won't let foreigners even investigate their dungeons. We're not talking about raiding them, just observing. Honestly, shouldn't the whole world be working together on this? If we understand dungeons better, people will be safer. Seok-Hayan's passionate outburst was followed by her gazing at me with eyes full of admiration. You're the first person who really understands me, Yoojin. Most people still believe dungeons are random, unpredictable disasters. I never thought I'd meet someone who's convinced there's a pattern and is even researching it. She suddenly grabbed my hand and leaned in close. Whoa, hold on a second. Why don't we set up a lab together? So, I'll have to pass on that. Why? The two of us could make incredible discoveries. No wonder she's related to Sek Gimyoung. Their pushiness is the same. I'm more of a hands-on person. Sitting at a desk, pulling my hair out while studying, isn't for me. That's fine. You can keep doing field work. I'll handle all the analysis. Statistics is my specialty. I only have a GED, so no problem. I'm qualified to be a professor. I was already planning to use some connections to set up a department focused on dungeons and awakened beings. I'll be the nicest professor you've ever had, and I'll even pass your thesis without question. She must come from a powerful family to be talking about setting up a department just like that. Her offer to get me a college degree for free was tempting, but I didn't feel like going back to school at this point. Besides, if I got too involved with someone who's going to become a leading authority on dungeon studies, I'd be exposed in no time. Better to keep things casual. I'm sorry, but my interests have shifted. I'm more focused on studying monsters now. I figured I'd pick up some knowledge along the way while raising them. Monsters? Seok-Hayan murmured thoughtfully, then suddenly adopted a serious expression. Let's collaborate between your lab and my lab. I don't have a lab. I don't plan on setting one up either. I'm just raising a monster. You're already raising one? Wow, you really are a hands-on researcher. She was just starting to gush about how she should follow my example when... click! Huh? Suddenly the lights went out. With no windows in the basement and the hallway lights also out, I couldn't see anything. A power outage? It looks like it. Let me turn on my phone's flashlight. I pulled out my phone and pressed the home button. A faint light illuminated Seok-Hayan's face. Standing by my desk, her face was frozen in a look of utter shock. Seok-Hayan? What's up with her all of a sudden? Seeing her like this in the dim phone light was really creepy. Gah! What? Her piercing scream made my heart drop. Startled, I turned around. A ghastly, bloodied face with wide white eyes was floating in the misty light, staring straight at me.
Oh, shh. Thud, 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 thud. The chairs and desks shook. Papers on the podium scattered everywhere. Gah, Mommy! In the midst of Sekhayan's screams, I collapsed to the floor. Not because my legs gave out, but because the chair wobbled and I fell off. Damn, at least I didn't scream. What the hell? There's no such thing as ghosts, but if there are dungeon monsters, could there be ghosts too? But wait, I have the fear resistance skill, so why am I trembling and scared to the point of tears? Oh, I turned it off. I turned it off and didn't turn it back on. Am I an idiot? I quickly reactivated the fear resistance skill. Immediately, a sense of calm washed over me. Was my bad mood this morning because I turned the skill off? The skill's description only mentioned immunity to fear, but since it's an L-rank skill, it probably has additional effects. And since it's passive, it might have been boosting my willpower stat all along. My original mental fortitude wasn't that weak, but losing the skill made me anxious. I guess you really don't notice something until it's gone. Sekhayan! I picked up my phone that had dropped, turned on the flashlight, and hurried over to Sekhayan. She was slumped on the floor, half out of it. Are you okay? When I lightly shook her shoulder, she went completely limp, fainting. She was still breathing, so it looked like she just passed out. Holding her close, I shouted, "Knock it off!" Goblin. A ghost suddenly showing up in broad daylight with this exaggerated performance? Not likely. Once I'd cooled down, the culprit was easy to figure out. It was the goblin. The goblin who loves to play pranks, especially scaring people. Okay, don't get mad. A playful, gender-neutral voice replied. The lights in the hallway and the classroom came back on. You said you wanted to meet? So I came.
With a chuckle, a figure appeared on top of a desk. It was someone dressed in a red goblin mask with a blue traditional coat. They were swinging around a bloodied blue face mask. Maybe I went a little overboard. I didn't think she'd actually faint. I usually control it better, but I guess it's been a while. Fortunately, it doesn't look like she's hurt. I looked up at the goblin. It was my first time seeing them in person. They weren't particularly tall, but not short either. A quirky and mischievous, yet ultimately good-natured person. A hunter with medium-range teleportation, invisibility, and eventually long-distance portals, who belonged to no one. I want them. Even with just the first two abilities, if I could gain their help, I could investigate dungeons. If the goblin helped, Sekhayan wouldn't have to go to the US to discover the dungeon creation rules. A prank-loving goblin, someone who's rumored to go to any length to scare people. This is an opportunity. I smirked and spoke provocatively. Why don't you stop with these cheap pranks that aren't scary at all? What? The goblin jumped up. Not scary at all? You were so scared you turned pale. Your legs gave out and you were trembling like a leaf. You must have been mistaken. It was dark. No way. I saw it. I saw everything clearly. I put on a flustered expression, deliberately stammering. That was just because I wasn't expecting it. So you admit you were scared? Think you wouldn't have been if you were expecting it? Coward, coward. If I expected it, I wouldn't have been scared. Honestly, your prank was pretty lame. Lame? It's classic. The goblin stomped his feet. Time to reel in the bait. How about we make a bet? A bet? Sure, I love bets. What's at stake? If you can't scare me, you have to admit that I'm better than you, and you'll be my subordinate for 3 years. It was a childish challenge, but the goblins seemed to like it. They shrugged their shoulders and laughed. All right, but I'm a very talented and impressive person. If you lose, well, you're an F-rank hunter, but since you're the High-On Guildmaster's brother, I'll cut you some slack and make you my subordinate for 20 years. So, they knew about me, but it seemed they didn't have a complete picture. Well, no matter how amazing the goblin is, they're just one person. There's no way they'd waste time closely monitoring an F-rank's every move. Still, now that we're connected, I should be more careful. You have a contract, right? The goblin's laughter stopped abruptly. Their eyes fixed on me. A contract? You want to make it official? Looks like they thought it would just be a playful, informal agreement, but that won't do. It has to be legitimate. Of course we need a proper contract. What, are you scared? No way. But this is all so suspicious. Why are you so confident? The goblin floated up into the air, then slowly drifted towards me, circling around and examining me closely. There's no resistance skill because it's passive, so are you planning to use an item? I won't use one. If you're suspicious, we can add a no-item clause to the contract. Then a skill that boosts your willpower? I won't use that either. Honestly, my skill only increases it by 5%. I wouldn't even notice. We can add a clause about that too. No active skills for me or anyone else. Despite my reassurances, the goblin still looked skeptical. His instincts were sharp. Something's off. It's so fishy. I feel like I'm going to lose. You were so scared just now. Your legs even gave out. Yeah, I was hiding something, but I had to make the goblin feel secure. If they kept suspecting something, they wouldn't sign the contract. All right, I'll be honest. I do have an ulterior motive. I feigned a bit of embarrassment as I continued. The truth is, even if I lose, I won't really be losing anything. Won't lose anything? Yeah, I'm just an ordinary F-rank hunter, and you're the famous goblin. If I win, it's a huge deal. But if I lose, I'll still get to be the goblin's subordinate. Isn't that kind of cool? I made myself look a little bashful. Recalling how I'd confessed to Kim Song-han 30 times helped my face naturally flush a bit. Damn, that was embarrassing. You're amazing and all, and well, I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but it'd be an honor to be your subordinate. I don't think you're the kind of person who would treat me badly either, and the goblin asked, sounding excited. If they weren't wearing a mask, I bet they'd be grinning from ear to ear. You were really cool when you made that declaration about your bag of secrets. It was honestly so cool. I am pretty awesome, aren't I? The goblin burst out laughing, soaring up into the air. Watch out, you might hit the ceiling. I like you. If you just asked to be my subordinate, I would have laughed it off. But you provoked me and made a bet. I like that. And you're even insisting on a contract. Nice. I said I wouldn't mind losing, but I plan on winning. Yeah, okay. A piece of parchment appeared in the goblin's hand. Let's make a bet. The bait was taken. With a cheerful laugh, I adjusted my hold on Shuk Hayan. Since I was this close to success, I needed to make sure she was okay. Before that, could you take this person to the infirmary? The goblin agreed readily, nodding before whisking Shuk Hayan away, only to return moments later. Teleportation really is an incredible ability. I wish I had it too. All right, let's write up the contract. The goblin laid the parchment out on the desk. It was an A-rank contract guaranteed by the association, with penalties for breaching the terms. By the way, I wonder what the goblin's stats are. Maybe I'll figure out their real name too. Knowing their name might even reveal their gender. I activated the promising talent skill to examine the goblin's status window, which had been hidden until now. Awakened being, Yoon Yoon. Current stat grade, B. Potential stat grade, B. Initial optimization skills,
Who am I? S. Acquired. Cloud Step. B. Acquired. Yun. What kind of name is that? How fitting for a mysterious goblin. I still couldn't tell if they were male or female. Their B-grade stats were high, but surprisingly, none of their optimized initial skills were related to teleportation. The Who Am I skill seemed to be for invisibility, and Cloud Step was a fairly common flight skill. "You're not going to back out now, are you?" the goblin urged, growing impatient as I stared blankly at the status window. They were really pushy. I picked up the pen and started filling in the terms on the contract. "Just 1 round is too ambiguous. Let's make it 3. The goblin, peering over my shoulder as I wrote, chimed in. "You don't want it to be ambiguous, huh? You're just stretching it out for your own amusement, aren't you? If you don't get scared even once, I'll make you my first subordinate." "Do you have other subordinates?" "You'll be the 3rd. I guess it makes sense to have a few trusted aides. If something happened to the goblin, someone would need to handle their bag of secrets." As I wrote down the terms of victory, the conditions for no skill or item use, and other specifics, the goblin kept interjecting with suggestions. By the time we were done, the parchment was nearly full. For someone who acts like a clown, the goblin is surprisingly meticulous. "We need to be very clear that I don't have to follow any unreasonable orders. Also, even if I lose, you won't ask me about anyone else's secrets. Write that in, too." "Of course I won't ask. I'm not going to make you do anything dangerous. I need to treat this valuable asset with care." Finally, after adding a time limit of 1 week for the challenge, we both signed the contract. "Try not to drag other people into this, okay? And I'd appreciate it if you could respect my privacy, like in the bathroom or while I'm bathing." "Don't worry. I've never snuck into a bathroom or a bathhouse. I've never even thought about it." The goblin's confident statement sealed the deal for me. This goblin's a woman. There's no way a man with an invisibility skill wouldn't have at least thought about sneaking a peek into the women's bath. At the very least, he'd considered it. "Well, I look forward to working with you." I carefully folded the contract and smiled warmly at my future subordinate.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.